I realize this might not be the most relatable experience to pitch as an intro, but who here has read through the D&D Monster Manual? Being a classic sword and sorcery type game, it's got all the bad guys you'd expect it to have. Orcs, zombies, dragons, fish people, stuff mostly ripped either from folklore, Tolkien, or Lovecraft, plus a handful of original creations to flesh out the roster. But unsurprisingly, as the installments continued and the source material got thinner on the ground, the monsters started getting weirder as the writers were forced to get more original. I mean, who can forget such creations as Cyborg Bear, or Evil Shrubbery, or It's like a dude, but he glows, and his head is like floating, or it's like a different dude, but he glows, and his head is floating, and also he's wearing a dress. But in terms of memorable monsters you'd think had to be original D&D creations due to sheer craziness, first place easily goes to the Tarasque, a colossal monster with a very bizarre visual design, who oscillates between sleeping for months on end and single-handedly carving a path of devastation through your unsuspecting game module. But surprise, surprise, this perfect engine of destruction is actually ripped straight from the pages of the folkloric history of southern France, and the originator of this beast is exactly who we're going to be discussing today. Now, the Tarasque is a classic medieval dragon, which means that it looks nothing like any self-respecting dragon should, and is instead a chimerical mashup of a half-dozen wildly incongruous animal characteristics barely masquerading as a functional life form. Despite its absolutely ludicrous character design, the Tarasque has managed to muster up enough narrative intimidation factor to make a major nuisance of itself and ravage its way through most of southern France with all the grace and subtlety of a politically charged YouTube comment. The nearby kingdom of Nerluc, which I think is pronounced that way, has been trying its best to kill the Tarasque, or at minimum drive it away. But no number of knights in shining armor or big swanky catapult units are capable of halting its kaiju-esque rampage. But those of you with a cursory knowledge of kaiju movies know that the only way to defeat a beast of such biblical proportions is to either orchestrate a highly cinematic confrontation between it and a friendly monster of even more biblical proportions, or to introduce it to a lovely young lady with a propensity for screaming operatically in skimpy nightgowns. Regrettably, this story takes place prior to the invention of both opera and lingerie, so instead we're going to have to settle for the fully clothed and generally level-headed Saint Martha, who strolls into town just in time to witness the Tarasque's latest bout of shenaniganery and resolves to do something about it. So Saint Martha heads off to confront the Tarasque and resolves the matter in classic saintly fashion by slopping some holy water on that sucker and smacking him with a crucifix. The Tarasque, now thoroughly tame thanks to the healing power of Jesus, is led back to the town, at which point he is, of course, tragically killed by the frightened townspeople, presumably so the line, "'Twas beauty killed the beast" could become a thing 900 years earlier than expected. Anyway, Saint Martha is displeased at the frankly eminently reasonable reaction from the townsfolk and chastises them, who respond by converting to Christianity and renaming the town Tarascon in an attempt to make up for their reflexive monster-slaying response. Saint Martha later goes on to visit the picturesque Spanish town of Villajoyosa and single-handedly wipes out an invading fleet of Berber pirates by triggering a flash flood. So I guess violence is sometimes the answer after all. Through the mist, through the woods, through the darkness and the shadows, it's a nightmare, but it's one exciting ride. Say a prayer, then we're there at the drawbridge of a castle, and there's something truly terrible inside. It's a beast, he's got fangs, razor-sharp ones, massive paws, killer claws for the feast. Hear him roar, see him foam, but we're not coming home till he's dead. Good and dead, kill the beast.